final words and next steps. But before I go any further, I just want to say congratulations. Congratulations on making your way all the way through the course. You know, there are a lot of different courses you could have gone for, many different training courses you could have picked, and you picked this one. And I want to say congratulations also for taking action. I know that you'll get great value out of this. You've had a chance to really go through in detail not only what the events are, what the rules and roles of Scrum are, but also, more importantly, the Scrum Guide, which is really the rule book on what Scrum is. And so I just really want to congratulate you on taking action and making it all the way through the course. So that being said, let's have a quick recap of what you've learned. So you've learned all about the waterfall model, how it was the original method often used for software development projects, and how it was a less flexible method used in the past. You've learned about the birth of Agile and how Agile embraced change, and how rather than being an alternative to Scrum, it's an umbrella term for a number of methods, frameworks and processes that all share a manifesto and a set of principles, which is really, really key because it's something that gets confused often. You've learned also about the fact that Agile is something that is more flexible than Waterfall, because most Agile methods are based around iterations, and they're based around the ability to deliver frequently. And that is really where Scrum comes in, because you've also learned what Scrum is, how empirical process control theory is really at the center of Scrum. You've learned about the importance of iterations, which we call sprints, and about all of the rules of Scrum that help to make it such a great framework for delivering frequently and improving time and time again. You've learned about the Scrum theory, which is empirical process control theory, about inspection, adaptation, and about the way that plays a really crucial role in inspecting and adapting time and time again. But in order for that to work, there must be transparency. So all in all, there are three legs to that: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. You've learned about the Scrum team roles, and you've learned that the Scrum team consists of the product owner, the Scrum Master, and the development team, and that even though the development team is a team, it's still part of the Scrum team. You've learned about the events, the sprint planning, retrospective, the daily Scrum meeting, and the sprint review, which are the only events defined in Scrum. However, you've also, and the sprint, of course. However, you've learned also that there was a release planning meeting that was previously spoken about in earlier revisions of the Scrum Guide, which is now not officially part of the Scrum Guide. However, it is very valid to use that and very valid to plan ahead for releases. You've learned about the Scrum artifacts, the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment of releasable, or formerly called shippable, product as the artifacts. And you've learned also about the fact that there are burn downs related to the backlog, so the sprint burn down, which you can use to show progress during the course of a sprint, and that the development team can monitor. You've also learned about the release backlog, which the product owner and anyone else can use to monitor progress towards a release. You've also learned about artifact transparency, and the fact that that was brought into the Scrum Guide, into the July 2013 Scrum Guide, to really draw attention to the fact that in order to get most value out of the artifacts and for them to be valuable for delivering projects, you really need those artifacts to be transparent to everybody in the Scrum team and in fact the stakeholders. So you've learned a lot, and on top of all of that, you've got my critiques now, you've got my summaries, which delve into the Scrum Guide and pick up some frequently asked questions and some common gotchas, especially not limited to, but especially if you're going for a Scrum certification. So all in all, you've got a complete overview of Scrum along with some selected pieces of the Scrum Guide that are really going to help you guys when you go towards the open assessment at scrum.org, or in fact for any certification. So once again, I want to congratulate you, but the question may be asked, well, what's the next step? You know, you've got all the information and there are a number of options, a number of different things you can do. What's the next step? So the first thing is to start using what you've learned. You know, the theory is based on practice, and if you really, really want to master Scrum, you're not going to get it from a book or a course. That's going to help you to excel and become a master at your game and excel above others. But obviously, as you know, until you start using it, which you may be already, you don't really get the experience. You don't really grasp the kind of problems and how to overcome them. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you're sitting this course, you're probably doing it because you either want to really truly understand what Scrum is, or you want to sit a certification. And I would recommend, before you sit a certification, to go over to scrum.org and sit the open assessment. The link will also be provided, if not in this video, but also in your documentation related to this course. And what the open assessment will do is it will give you confidence and prepare you for any scrum.org certification. Now, there are two bodies that I recommend that you go to if you want to get certified. It's the scrum.org and the Scrum Alliance. The reason being that the founders of Scrum, Ken, Jeff, and their partners, are the people that built those companies. And you can be guaranteed that if you pass a certification with those bodies, you really truly know Scrum as its founders intended. So I always tell my students to only go for courses which are from affiliated or recognized by scrum.org or the Scrum Alliance. And in terms of sitting a certification, to only go for certifications that come from scrum.org or Scrum Alliance, be it a certified Scrum Master course, certified Product Owner course, or some kind of team certification course. So if you go over to scrum.org and you go and sit the open assessment, you can then brushing up on your skills until you're happy. Hopefully, based on everything you've learned, you can pass the first time. But if you don't, you can always watch this course again and go back and sit that exam. So that's the next step. Step 1 is to start using Scrum. Step 2 is to actually sit the open assessment as quickly as possible while you have this newfound knowledge, and come back and watch this course if there's anything that you're really not sure of. Remember, the Scrum Guide is the #1 place to look to really understand what Scrum is as well. Thanks guys, go forth and have fun with Scrum.